The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil. Hi, I'm Christian Nielsen, and those were the words of the character Mon Mothma from the recent Star Wars Andor series, which is sadly feeling closer and closer to home every single day. I had something completely different planned for today and for the next few weeks. But this last week, for a lot of us, feels like a kick in the gut. And everything has sort of stopped, and we're trying to figure out where we are. We're trying to get our bearings in this terrifying time. I want us to start by taking a breath. In and out. I want us to recognize, especially during times like this, self-care is important. While you are breathing, you are alive. And while you are alive, there's much to do. Renée Nicole Macklin Good. That was her name. Say it often and remember. Renée Nicole Macklin Good. She was a mother of 3 who had just dropped one of her children off at school. She was an award-winning poet and writer. And she was an innocent person gunned down by her government. It was brutal. It was cruel. It is unacceptable. Since that time, 2 more people have been shot by ICE. I lament for Renée's life being lost. I lament for her partner's grief, for the trauma-fueled grief that her children are experiencing and will experience for the rest of their lives. I lament that families are being torn apart. I lament that people are being abducted from their homes and from our streets and from their vehicles and brought to unbelievably cruel prisons. What I lament the most is that there are people that defend all of this, who blame the victims, who say things in social media feeds like, well, you know, if she hadn't have just spoken up, if she hadn't have just gotten in the way, she wouldn't be dead. History has shown us many times when governments have told us it's best just to comply. Just let us do bad things and you'll be okay. When we support empire over the life of a human being, we are lost. When we support empire over the dignity and human rights of others, we are lost. When we support empire invading sovereign nations and threatening to do so with others, an empire that is open about its desire for conquest and control, we are dangerously lost. And people are saying, well, we should just allow what our government to do what it does, and we just shouldn't resist. And that we should respect authority, even when it's doing harm. When that happens, we are so far off the map of morality. I can't even fathom that. I know of a guy, 2,000 years ago who stood up to authority, who stood up to those who idolatrize power and control. He spoke out against those who loved power and wealth more than they loved grace and mercy. And he was the continuation of generations of prophets who spoke out in this same way. who said that we are required to do justice and love kindness and walk humbly with God. What happened on a street corner not far from where George Floyd was murdered by police only a few years ago. This is beyond wrong. To make matters worse, our federal government is lying to us. They're telling us to believe them over what our eyes and our ears tell us in some sort of Orwellian nightmare. Now, I normally want these times to be a time of calm and reflection, and I'm not going to show us video, and I'm not going to want us to relive that trauma. But I do want to talk about what our duty is. We have a duty to stand up for justice and take care of each other. We have a duty to stand up for truth. And we have a moral obligation to resist those who would twist it for their own ends. This week I've been thinking a lot about that Star Wars character, Mon Mothma, and what she did say in the Andor series. Here is a part of her speech. This is as the Empire, you know, the bad guys, right? This is as the Empire has tightened its grip on power and has created a situation not unlike what recently happened, and built lie upon lie around it. And she said, the distance between what is said and what is known to be true has become an abyss. Of all the things at risk, the loss of an objective reality is perhaps the most dangerous. The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil. When truth leaves us, when we let it slip away, when it is ripped from our hands, we become vulnerable to the appetite of whatever monster screams the loudest. We cannot allow the distortion of truth. My friends, we have to resist the lies, the violence, the greed, the disinformation, the worship of power that has consumed our society. We need to do it peacefully, but we have to remember that peacefully doesn't mean quietly. It doesn't mean we soothe over the wrongs of the world. It doesn't mean we stand by and watch those in power abduct, invade, and murder. The work of peace is much more than that. In the words of Jeremiah, we cannot treat the wounds of our neighbors, our relatives, carelessly, saying peace, peace, when there is no peace. The work of love is what must guide us in resistance and living together in community with each other. But that work isn't easy. Sometimes it's very hard. Sometimes it requires us to take risks for others. And that risk led to an innocent woman's brutal murder. I want us to reflect on the words of Mark Sandlin. The Reverend Mark Sandlin. If you don't know of him, you should follow him on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. You may know him as the guy who often says, seriously, some of y'all need to get to reading the Jesus-y parts. And he's right. But he put his own twist on the prayer of St. Francis, which we often know as making me a channel of your peace. And he wrote, where there is hatred, don't let us rush past it with nice words or nervous smiles. Help us stay. Help us to tell the truth. Help us refuse to look away. Let love disturb us. Where there is injury, teach us how to tend wounds gently, and also how to ask why those wounds keep happening over and over again. Let love disturb us. Where there is despair, give us hope that doesn't flinch. Hope that doesn't disappear when things get awkward or costly. Hope that says, where there is darkness, give us light. Not the kind that makes everything feel better, but the kind that shows us what we'd rather not see. Let love disturb us. Where we've grown numb, shake us awake. Where we've gone along to get along, interrupt us. Where tradition matters more to us than actual human lives, and we benefit from that, even quietly, don't let us pretend we don't notice. Love keeps whispering and sometimes shouting that gentleness isn't weakness, that kindness isn't passivity, and that silence is not peace. Because peace without justice isn't peace. It's just harm with better manners. Let love disturb us, disturb our comfort, disturb the excuses we make so we can sleep at night. Disturb the ways we call convenience faith. Mess with our calendars, mess with our money, mess with the tables where we decide who gets a seat and who doesn't. Let love disturb us. Help us want more than being understood. Help us want understanding. Help us want more than being liked. Help us want to love in ways that actually cost us something. Not just talking about justice, but practicing it. With our bodies, with our choices, with our lives. Move us closer to those pushed to the edges. Teach us how to love without fixing, without saving, without standing at a safe distance. Make us channels, not just of peace, but of disruption. Let love disturb us until love refuses to settle for the world as it is. Amen. Peace be with you, my friends. Be safe. Take care of each other. Stand up for those on the margins. And remember to breathe. Walk in beauty.